Still tuned into Startup Central. Now, 2020 has certainly been a tough year, but we also managed to see 11 unicorns emerge from India. In fact, many are planning their IPOs in 2021 and the calendar seems blocked. So what's the next big idea in the startup ecosystem, and where does India stand when it comes to the global space? Let's listen into this exclusive conversation that we had with Sequoia Capital's Rajan Anandan, talking about the next big idea.
I think the next big idea is called India. I think what we're seeing, Nayantara, is innovation across sectors. So yeah, it really is. It's called India. What I mean by that is across many segments, right? It's building for India. It's building for the world. I don't think it's isolated to any one thing, right? If you had asked me 2016, yes, it was about payments. It was triggered by UPI. You could say 2018, maybe it was about EdTech, 2018, 19. But I think going forward, if you look at the next decade, I don't think it's going to be, focused only on one or two sectors, Nayantara, right? We've talked about this. Look, in EdTech, we're going to see, many large companies getting built out, right? In FinTech, we already have many large companies. We're going to see that number sort of grow very rapidly, right? SaaS, we have 6 SaaS unicorns. That number is going to triple, very, very quickly here. So I do think across many different sectors, we're going to see accelerated innovation. And I think that's very, very special, right? Where it's no longer about, only one or two sectors, right? See what you want for a very healthy startup ecosystem, that is an ecosystem that is firing on many cylinders, right? Anytime you have only one or two cylinders, you're at risk, right? And now what we're seeing, Nayantara, is, as you know, like even in e-commerce, right, where you've had, let's say, Flipkart, you've had Amazon, now as you said, Nykaa, you've had a few vertical players. Now you have a company like a Meesho, right, which is, sort of leading the wave, the social commerce wave, right, or companies like Bulbul and others, some of, which are really leading sort of this new wave. So in some of these established spaces, you're seeing sort of the birth of a new generation of companies. And then in other spaces, right, you're seeing sort of the first generation of bigger companies that are going to get built out.
And can you give us an insight, because in 2020, what we've also seen is a lot of deal activity that has taken place. Look at Sequoia. You guys raised $1.35 billion in a new fund during COVID. I don't know how you guys did it. I'm sure it was done all virtually because flights had been shut out at that time. So, when you speak to the LPs and you speak to the GPs, can you give us an understanding of where India stands globally in repute in this ecosystem, what kind of innovation that we are leading with?
Yeah, so I think we've come a long way over the last decade, Nayantara, as you and I have spoken about, right? 10 years ago, India had a few thousand startups, 0 unicorns, less than $1 billion of venture capital, right? Today, we have 35 unicorns. We have over 40,000 startups. We don't know how much funding we would have raised for the full year, but it's going to be around $10 billion, right? So by the way, last year to this year, we saw more unicorns this year than we did see last year. But the total quantum of funding this year will be less than last year, primarily because of what happened in the April, May, June quarter, right? So we've come a long way, right? So 10x growth in capital, 0 to 35 unicorns, 40,000 startups, which is orders of magnitude more than what we have. But as I've said in the past, I do think we are still at the these are still early days of India's startup ecosystem, right? Because what we are now going to see is a decade where we will see accelerating innovation, new business models the world has never seen before. If you look at a company like a Khatabook, which was in our first search cohort, Nayantara, or Pagabook in this cohort, right? These are businesses the world has never seen before, right? They're truly uniquely Indian businesses, right? And we're seeing them in SaaS, by the way, right? I mean, it is one thing to see them in agri-tech and spaces that are, where you would expect them to see, right? Like EdTech, we have EdTech models the world's never seen before. So I think we're going to see uniquely Indian business models, number one. Number two, you're going to see revenues and startups of significant revenue scale. And that's very important, right? The way you create truly sustainable, enduring long-term companies is you have to build companies that have revenue, profit, and over time cash flow scale. So that's the second thing you're going to see. And third thing you're going to see is, look, I do think, a reference point we should have, Nayantara, is in the year 2019, China had over $30 billion of venture funding, for startups. India was at about 14.5 billion, right? So we were indexed to about 50% of China in 2019. This year, I think the Indian ecosystem will end up with about $10 billion of funding, roughly thereabouts. I'm talking about the total ecosystem, right? And so clearly, I think in 2021, we'll probably get back to 2019 levels, and then we'll build from there. So the next decade, we'll just see more innovation, faster acceleration, faster build out of companies. And obviously, to do all of that, we will see more capital coming into India.
You can catch that conversation tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. and 6 p.m. only on ET Now. On that note, we'll take a very quick break right here on Startup Central. Stay with us as we focus in on food trends as well as the year for gaming that's been 2020.